We all know Zara. This brand dresses women, men, and children all over the world.
Let's just go to Zara. I know I can find something.
They have very nice stuff that you don't find anywhere else.
Zara is very special and modern and fashion.
Every time I go there, I find new things. Zara, because they have fashion at low cost. In 40 years, it became worldwide with 200 selling points on every continent, and new stores that are sprouting everywhere.
Zara is one of the rare companies that has a really good communication team in order to not communicate.
Zara is the crown jewel of Inditex Company, the first textile group in the world. Its headquarters looks like a fortress where only a few exterior people have had the privilege to enter.
I had the slight impression of being in a James Bond movie when you enter the villain's lair.
Zara is enigmatic, like its founder, Amancio Ortega, who took Bill Gates' title of richest man in the world. Very few people know him. He's 80 years old now. He wanted to democratize fashion. He came from a very poor family. So how did this man revolutionize fashion and build an empire? To tell his story is a challenge because Ortega is unapproachable. But we'll unveil his system, his dazzling success, and also his dark side. We will explore the world according to Zara. First, let's go in the austere and remote region where it all began, in the 1960s. Direction northwest of Spain, in the province of Galicia, away from main roads. A Coruña is a port of 250,000 inhabitants. Amancio Ortega grew up there. Today, the strategic center of Zara, Inditex headquarters, is still in Arteixo, about 10 kilometers from the port. It is a fortress where one does not enter. In all families in the area, someone has worked for Inditex. But in a Coruña, we do not talk. And Ortega is a mystery, almost a fantasy. But we have an appointment with an expert, Javier Blanco, journalist in A Coruña. He's the author of the unauthorized biography of Ortega, From Zero to Zara. And immediately, he describes an enigmatic man.
He's a person who prefers anonymity, a person who does not like to appear in the media. In 1998, a Portuguese newspaper, the Diário de Notícias, had come to question the existence of Amancio. That's why when the group wanted to enter the stock exchange, they had to publish a photo to reassure future investors and show that there was someone behind the company.
Amancio Ortega is one of the most secret men in the world. Since the creation of Zara in 1975, he has never granted any interview to the press. For years, not a single picture of him was available. Without talking about him, without advertising, he amassed a huge fortune, about $80 billion. Yet he started from nothing. His story is like a novel. It's the story of a poor boy, Amancio Ortega, who became the richest man in the world. Everything starts in A Coruña in the 50s, when his parents came to settle in the region, where under the regime of General Franco, a dictatorship. Amancio, son of an employee of the railways, is the youngest in a family of 4. It is in this accommodation for railway workers that he grew up. Convadonga Oshí is a legendary fashion journalist in Spain. It is my dear Amancio Ortega. She had the privilege of recording the only interview he has ever given. She drew an authorized biography from it, in which she tells the incredible journey of this young, disadvantaged man who had made the promise at 13 never to be poor again. The day he told me this story, we were eating, and his eyes were filled with tears. I asked him why he was engaged in this business, and he said, "The truth is that day when my mother picked me up at school, we went in a grocery store where my mother would buy what we were eating for dinner, and the owner said, 'Josefa, we can't give you credit anymore.' He realized how a slap it was to his mother, a humiliation. And it also meant that this evening, they would not eat. At that moment, he said, "This will not happen to my mother ever again." This episode, that could have remained an anecdote, was the first trigger that will propel the young Amancio in the world of fashion. Without any graduation, he quit school to earn a living. He soon left school and looked for work. As he was not the required age, he had been hired as a handy boy in a shirt store, the Gala shop, and everything started from there. In the early 60s, Amancio Ortega left Gala for Maha, the chic store of A Coruña. He learned the craft of tailoring. Above all things, he had a revelation. In the world of fashion, the creators command customers what they should wear. Amancio realized he must do the opposite, take from the customer's taste to give them what they want. For example, there is in the storefront of the Maha a dressing gown all women dreamt about, but its high price made it accessible only to wealthy clients. He decided to copy it to sell it cheaper. Great idea because at the time, it was an essential cloth for women in Galicia.
At the time, there was no heating in the houses. It was very cold, and the women used to go down to the streets to shop in their robes. They made a robe that made sense. They abandoned the old concept, which actually was just a bag with sleeves. They brought style, with a fairly reasonable quality and relatively affordable price.
To get started, Ortega, who could not sew, used Rosalia Mera, a saleswoman at Maha who will soon become his bride.
Amancio was an employee of La Maha, a very good employee. Rosalia knew sewing because it happened at a time when everyone in the houses of Spain had sewing machines and made alterations at home. It was a time when everything was left to do, and they dreamt to do something. Amancio then realized he was no longer going to rise at the Maha.
To fulfill their dream, Rosalia, Amancio, and his stepsister, Primitiva, work hard. They are young and penniless, but full of determination. They keep their jobs at the Maha, and when they have free time, move into Antonio's dining room, Amancio's brother, to sew gowns. They reproduce the model all women dream of A Coruña, but with a much lower price. Amancio sells them door to door. By bicycle and with a very old car, he went from place to sell, because it started in Galicia, first in A Coruña. He worked very hard, because in the beginning, he had no money at all. He told me he had borrowed 2,000 pesetas to the Bank of Bilbao. 2,000 pesetas is about 30 euros. He asked for a loan because he had nothing. By copying a robe to sell it cheaper to women of A Coruña, answering their desires, Ortega has developed its basic concept. His business is a success. He sets up a first workshop he calls Goa and starts hiring. At Arte Show, we meet one of Amancio Ortega's first seamstresses, Sonia Pinero. She's retired but wishes to introduce us to Magdalena, another former seamstress, but still active. We wait for her at the exit of Inditex factories. We climb directly in the car because Magdalena is afraid to be noticed. At Inditex, we do not talk to the press. As Sonia, Magdalena started working very young at Goa. It brings up the beginnings of Ortega. Ortega worked alongside his people, his employees. He always wanted to be there. If there were boxes to fill, clothes to hang, or marks to make, he would do it. Magdalena wants to show us the modest workshop where Ortega had installed his first company. In Noya Street, in the historic center of A Coruña. Here began the manufacture of Goa confections, the first workshop. This is where I started to work. In 1973.
Right here?
Yes. Yes, here.
You were very young. How old were you?
13.
13. But was it legal to work at that age?
With the signing of your parents, yes.
Is it like that today still?
No, it's not. He said he was working like a mule. And he made the others work like mules too. He admitted it, but he believed in what he was doing. The business is growing fast, and in 1963, Amancio Ortega opened his first factory, Goa, in which he continues to manufacture sleepwear. Sonia Pinero started working with him at the age of 14. I did not want to study, and at home we needed money. I was told, go ahead, they hire people, give it a try. And indeed, the first day I went there, I stayed there. I did a test and I stayed. And I spent my life there. I got married there. Sonia kept a copy of the first nightshirts they made at the time. They were all more or less like this. It's a nightshirt with short sleeves that matched with a bathrobe. To Mr. Ortega, it was clear that the work had to be done well. He sewed buttons, linings, he went to the warehouse. It did not happen often, but if you had collars to iron because an order had to leave, he would begin to iron. But the work does not explain everything. Ortega had flair to surround himself with the best. A key man accompanied him in his rise. Jose Maria Castellano was the son of a driver from A Coruña, but he was a very good man, very complete. He began helping Ortega as an outside counsel. He was not in the business until Amancio realized that he was the person he needed. Castellano, who worked at IBM, convinced Ortega to computerize his business. They started 20 years before most of their competitors, and that was another factor of success. With this strategy, Ortega decided to diversify and produced all kinds of clothes. In 1975, he opened his first boutique in the heart of A Coruña. He baptized it Zara, in reference to Zadar, Croatia's harbor where he spent his honeymoon with Rosalia. This shop still exists. At first, it was said that Zara was not very good quality, but it was cheap. Sonia remembers very well how they developed the collections. I remember many magazines from Barcelona. Well, we bought them in Barcelona, but they were not Spanish. They were French, Italian. If you went in the design section, there were piles of magazines everywhere.
And he copied the models.
Yes, indeed. The store in A Coruña was the first of a very long list. Ortega extended his empire gradually.
Each store opened following the truck's route, which means the truck first stopped in Zamora, then Salamanca, next Casares, then Burgos, and Sevilla. It followed the truck's route. The first store Amancio opened abroad was in Portugal, 150 kilometers from Galicia. He did not open in New York, but in Portugal. He colonized little by little.
40 years later, Zara is an empire with more than 2,000 stores in the world, but didn't change its methods. Like before, the brand copies bigger brands' shape, colors, and styles, because this is how they succeeded.
Amancio started by copying, and there's quite a story about that. He had a friend who bought a shirt in Italy and wanted to wear it to a wedding. She bumped into Amancio wearing that shirt and begged, please don't copy it.
But he didn't say he was copying. There's a part in my book where I tell him, Amancio, you copy everything you see. And he answers, no, I'm inspired by it. He told me that one day. He was in his car and he saw a young man on a bike wearing a jacket with all those medals. He looked at it and called the design director right away. He described what he saw in detail, and they made a lot of money with this model. Some fashion websites claim that Zara is copying luxurious brands. And they follow their claims with pictures. Like this pair of shoes sold 720 euros at Prada. Those are the ones sold at Zara. Or look-alike. They're sold 80 euros, 9 times cheaper. And those websites have a whole lot of examples. Here's an Isabelle Marant top. Look at the one from Zara. Or those shoes. Try to guess. Which are Louboutin, which are Zara. Facing those accusations of plagiarism, the brand decided not to comment. The real question is to know, where does the inspiration stop and copy begin? Many small independent designers think Zara and other textiles giants took from their creations. But it is too difficult to fight against those giants. In the heart of Paris, we visit the studio of ready-to-wear brand G. Caro.
I'll leave the skirt here.
Yes, I'll take a look at it later. Siblings, Philippe and Marguerite Barterot, launched their brand G. Caro 5 years ago, an original style quickly noticed for its printed and colorful shirts. They caught the attention of the public, but also of other brands, including Zara. Since, as soon as Marguerite draws new creations, imitations appear on the market. It keeps her up at night. It's really stealing. It's a bit like I was an old lady in the street with my bag, and someone grabs it and left. Makes me sad, makes me want to scream. Here's an example of what drives Marguerite and her brother crazy.
The first time I think we've been copied, it was our birds shirt. The birds is a very simple shirt, adding these blue birds like that on a shirt. It's Marguerite, the creator of G. Caro, who invented it.
Now this bird pattern on a shirt, you can find it on a Zara model, with the same layout and the same colors. Coincidence, perhaps? Anyway, a few collections later, when Marguerite Barterot draws ballerinas, so did Zara. And the height for this model is that the Spanish brand beat them to the punch.
You can find the shirt in stores. It's already on sale, while for us, it's not out yet. It's already out at Zara.
For the young brand, it is difficult to deal with the force of a world leader that benefits alone from the novelty effect.
We present our collections almost a year in advance, a year before they're sold. And the retail chains such as Zara, they send people to sniff out what's going on in the shows, so a year in advance. And with their production capacity, they can produce something in only 2 months. So if they decide to copy something, they'll get a copy out before the original comes out.
Philippe is concerned about the future of his company, especially because others have followed Zara's plan.
This is the Monoprix Zebra, and this is ours. And this could be G. Caro, but it's ProMod.
Here's Marguerite and Philippe's version. You must look at the details to see the difference.
The graphic composition's been copied. They dressed the characters up because they couldn't show the Kama Sutra. They changed the color. See this little line under here? It's exactly below. You have the triangles, and you have the same spacing. If you're not known, you're a little designer, and you're copied 2, 3, 4, 5 times. People never talk about you. You see all the copies promoted in the press. It doesn't hurt just a little. It's not a loss for us. It's a death sentence.
C'est pas un manque à gagner, c'est une condamnation à mort.
G. Cairo decided to attack Zara for counterfeiting and unfair competition, but they committed themselves to a long and costly process. In front of such findings, we asked Zara's opinion. We sent an email to Inditex. We noticed that several brands accused you of copying some of their models. We found surprising similarities between models of the French brand G. Cairo and Zara's. We would like to have your opinion on it. To date, Zara did not respond to our email. One might think that in the fashion industry, to copy a competitor is taking the risk of being sued and a huge fine. But to prove to a judge that there has been copy is much more complex than we think. For example, for this coat, Sandro brand has filed a complaint against Zara. They were pointing many similarities: the top of the leather jacket, biker style, the snaps at the end, and the wool. The French justice condemned Zara to pay 200,000 euros to Sandro. But don't think that it's always like that. Because the brands that have lost against Zara are numerous. Some very prestigious, like famous French shoe designer Christian Louboutin. We recognize his creations across the world for their famous red sole found on all models. He even copyrighted it. So one might think that Louboutin is the only brand allowed to make this its personal touch. But look at this pair of Zara shoes, inspired by this model from Louboutin. Same shape and red sole. The Parisian shoemaker decided to sue, but after years of proceedings, he was ordered to pay 2,500 euros damages to Zara. In short, Louboutin doesn't have the red-soled monopoly. In Paris, we went to ask the opinion of a fashion expert, writer, journalist, popular figure on Instagram. Sophie Fontanelle spent 20 years at Elle magazine. We asked her what she thinks of Zara and plagiarism. We must know one thing. The creators, when they invent something, inspire themselves from something else. So this is a very important point. Zara calls it sourcing. Those people who go to the source of things. There are people who score the flea markets, who go to thrift stores, who buy clothes. And as there are people who know fashion really well, they know that the 70s are coming back and that the 80s are coming back. So when we attack Zara and tell them, "You imitated me," Zara can say, "Wait, it was anticipated. Yes, I put rabbits on a shirt. But look, this shirt from the 70s also has rabbits." For her, imitating and repeating is the base of the fashion system. Before copying and imitation, there's just doing again, which is the history of clothing. There's a phrase from Giacometti that says, "I only make by destroying." Well, fashion does by remaking. Copying is difficult to prove, so Zara continues to draw inspiration from the creations of others. Zara's customers know, and that is, among other things, what they come picking in store. The clothes resemble those of the big brands, but cheaper. Zara captures all the trends to make them come to the store. It's copy and paste sometimes. Copies are immediate. When something new comes out, they already have it. Zara takes from leading brands to develop its products. It's obvious. They make copies, yes, but good copies. Sometimes they copy a little. For example, the couple shirts.
Probably inspiration.
Yes, Zara is inspired by. Maybe you have a crush on this little Isabelle Marant top, those Chloe boots, or this Dior dress. Well, you can find almost the same models at Zara, but much cheaper. We tried to contact the press services of these brands, but they refused to answer. For them, it is simply bad publicity. But Zara is not only drawing from the biggest names in luxury, it also took over their codes. For example, it does everything to make us think we're in a top-of-the-range store. And it starts with the appearance of its showcases. In the fashion world, the showcases give the image of the brand. Zara has understood that and integrated it from the start in its strategy. And it is in the bunker of A Coruña that showcases are designed, in great secret. Mark Tungate is a British writer. 10 years ago, he published a book on the world of fashion. On this occasion, he had the rare privilege of entering the premises of Inditex, a very difficult place to enter.
I had the slight impression of being in a James Bond movie when you arrive at the villain's lair. There was a lift going up, you arrive in a lobby, everything was white, 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 very minimalist. They have a whole street of showcases, which are called pilot stores. It's like a ghost town. You see a street of Zara stores with different showcases being set up, and they create with their team the image that will be the image of the season. And that will be transmitted to all the shops around the world.
Those ghost stores are unique in the fashion world. In the real life, the brand cares about getting the best locations. It reportedly paid 300 million euros for the store located on Fifth Avenue in New York. Zara invests heavily in its stores. Those displays you immediately notice are located in the nicest neighborhoods. It is Zara's best publicity. To understand the Zara system, we take an appointment in Paris with a man working for a competing company. For months, he studied Zara's operations. For him, the brand's inner workings are frightening. He agreed to meet in a discreet place, anonymously.
I tried to crack the model to understand how this model works and what I could learn for my own business. When looking at the financial model, and more particularly the communication and advertising budget, we realized that there is a line with zero, so there are no expenses in advertising displays or television.
Such positioning is unique in the fashion world, because the textile market is highly competitive and is normally based on advertising. For example, H&M, Zara's closest competitor, calls in singers or football players to create a buzz. Like other retailers, the Swedish brand spends around 3.5% of its turnover in advertising campaigns. Not Zara. Zara is not a brand that is worn on red carpets, so they went for a low profile. They build themselves on other people's desires. It really is a coveted brand. Why are brands advertising? It is in case they're not desired, you see? It is to prevent this potential lack of desire or to stir it. They didn't do that. Zara is in all aspects a different brand. To limit it for its imitation or marketing would be a mistake. The truth is Armancio Ortega is a visionary who revolutionized fashion. With Zara, he invented the fast fashion. They produce and deliver in record time. There are no more winter or summer collections. To answer the demand, Zara is able to put a cloth in store 15 days after it has been drawn. And in the Zara system, they are permanently out of stock.
When you're a normal textile store, when a product sells out, you're outraged to see it's out of stock. It really makes the manager sick. But not at Zara, because out of stock is part of their marketing investment, which means the frustration creates the need to come back to the store, because you never know, maybe the product will be back or another product, just like it, will appear and be available this time. Therefore, it's completely atypical.
The other highlight for the brand is the speed at which they market a new model.
In most of the fashion industry, it takes around 40 weeks from the drawing of a cloth to putting it on the market. The process that's being described here allows Zara to develop the product, to sketch it, and bring it to the market within 2 to 4 weeks. So, extremely quickly.
And it works, since Zara's customers visit 17 times a year the stores against 3 to 4 times for its main competitors. I go to Zara 3 to 4 times a week.
I shopping in the Zara for about 3 times a week.
Sometimes in the United States, once a month.
Each week. We call this model of production and ultra-fast supply fast fashion. Zara invented it. This model has been taken by many other brands. Today, Zara's winning strategy is so unique that it is taught in most business schools, like here in Paris. Jérôme Barthélemy is a professor and specialist in corporate strategy.
Most companies do the same things. The result is that they're doomed to mediocrity. So the originality of Zara is they took a number of received ideas and common practices in the fashion sector and changed them. The first is to say, rather than being a fashion generator, we will follow the trends, we will see what works, and we'll adapt. Zara manages to spot trends and get products looking alike in less than 15 days.
So how can Zara produce that quickly and stick so strongly to trends? To understand this, we would have to visit the Inditex headquarters. But it is a fortress where few outsiders have set foot in. Meeting the enigmatic Ortega is out of the question. He never welcomes journalists. He's completely out of reach.
There's this anecdote where Prince Philippe of Spain comes to visit. Amancio does not even receive him. He sends Jose Maria Castellano instead. But however his social life is important, for example, this is the daughter of the Infanta Elena, daughter of King Juan Carlos of Spain. Now he shows himself with heads of the government, etc. But it's related to the company's growth. He cannot escape that, I think.
If the future king of Spain is not welcomed in A Coruña as he should be, in our case, we have no chance of getting into Zara. Yet, it's not for lack of trying. Despite dozens of calls and emails, our requests for interviews with officials, and our authorizations to shoot in shops or factories of the Spanish group were unsuccessful.
I would like to talk with someone of the communication, please.
Okay, I'll put you through 1 second, please.
Thank you.
The communication service is reachable, the reception desk friendly, but then no answer. Zara is mute.
Zara is one of the few companies that has a very good communication team for not communicating.
Failing to meet Ortega or enter the fortress, we choose to explore the Inditex website. The visit reveals that behind those glass walls is the heart of a war machine. Inditex produces annually around 1 billion clothes.
It's fabulous. To see how the production works at Inditex, it's amazing. This is amazing because a lot of employees go around by bicycle, because there are 110 kilometers of paths and rails.
Those kilometers of tracks are used to send 5 million clothes to Zara stores every week, worldwide. The goal is always to gain more time.
Creation and production, everything's done internally in order to go as fast as possible.
For that, Zara employs an army of designers.
There are hundreds of designers around the world who travel with a camera or even a pen and paper and watch how the kids dress up in Tokyo, what they wear in New York, what's happening in Paris, what's happening in Milan, how they breathe in Singapore.
In A Coruña, 250 designers work on the collections. In total, more than 18,000 different models are sold each year. Hard to believe that for Ortega, it all started in the dining room of his brother. He's a very simple person. Intuitive, with brilliant ideas. He had really clear ideas. He wanted to democratize fashion. He came from a very poor family. His idea was a total success. Ortega has democratized fashion. It made him the richest man in the world. So how does he live now? At 80, he remained faithful to A Coruña all his life. The hyper-billionaire lives in this building, overlooking the port. Those who know him describe him as a man with simple tastes. He likes omelets with potatoes. He has his habits in the neighborhood restaurants. Like in the Refugio, in Oleros, in the suburbs of A Coruña. The boss has known Ortega for 40 years.
He's a normal person, super discreet, and that's it. He is a character, one of those who deserves the money he has. He deserves it.
He doesn't want to be seen. A part of him is so simple and real with humility. He does not want to show off. He thinks, I haven't done all this alone. A lot of people have done it with me, and it's not fair that people think that I did it alone. This strategy of discretion and simplicity is respected by Ortega's bodyguards. Inditex executives live in this soulless neighborhood in Oleros. They live in uniform and airtight houses, all under surveillance. The neighborhood is called Zara. All those aristocrats are multimillionaires, yet they go to this quite simple restaurant. They're as low profile as their boss. From here, you would not believe it, but those aristocrats are masters of the world. Their empire is global. Billions of people dressed in Zara travel the world in comfortable clothes, cheap and interchangeable, made on all continents, far from A Coruña. 40 years after opening the first store, the world belongs to Zara. Until the 2000s, the group was making their clothes in Galicia and Spain. But its growth surged and they had to globalize production. According to Inditex, 35% are manufactured in Asia, against 49% in the Spain area. In St. John de Compostela, Galicia, Juan is the head of an association of workers who contest those figures. According to him, the massive outsourcing of textile is partly responsible for the high unemployment rate in Spain.
This is an area where there were a lot of jobs here in Galicia and Spain. And today there's a major employment crisis, with over 20% of unemployment.
By producing in countries where labor is cheaper, the giants of textile, as Inditex, are increasing their profits while their country is in crisis and needs jobs.
In reality, we're not a group that campaigns against Zara. We're fighting against slavery. And today there are many multinational companies in various sectors who seek the cheapest production possible. Zara is one of them.
To support his statements, Juan brings us to a Zara store.
If you want, we enter the shop to check the labels and see where they come from.
We come in with a discreet camera.
It's a myth that most of the production is made in Spain. I bet you won't find here any labels that say made in Spain. Turkey. Turkey. Morocco. China. Spain, no, we won't see any from Spain. Pakistan is a country where it's well known that workers have no rights. That's why they manufacture there. No Spain. Let's get out before they see us.
In the third world, textile giants do not always control their suppliers, and in recent years, scandals multiplied. In 2005, the collapse of the Spectrum factory, a Zara subtractor, killed 64 in Bangladesh. The workers worked 7 days a week for €10 per month. Inditex set up a compensation fund for victims 4 years later. In 2011, Zara is still getting talked about, but this time in South America. In Brazil, some of its suppliers employ workers in slave-like conditions. And in Argentina, the Alameda Foundation, which fights against those types of abuses, filmed raids in sordid sweatshops. Inditex acknowledged these irregularities, specifying that suppliers used those workers and methods without informing them. To clean up its image, Inditex strengthened the code of conduct for manufacturers and suppliers in 2012. It states that no forced labor, no child labor, no harsh or inhumane treatment, the right to remuneration, reasonable working hours, environmental pledge. To see how it works, we went to North Africa, in Tunisia, where wages are lower than in China, and where Inditex has many subcontractors. The main textile production center is near Monastir, 200 kilometers away from Tunis. 450 garment enterprises are gathered there. We'll see how they produce clothing for Zara. Wassim Zalia goes every day to Mahdia. This former Levi's employee invested €1,500 to set up a textile factory.
Today, thank you God, I have 350 employees, and I work with the Inditex group.
Wassim's company is called SIP Confection. It mainly manufactures clothes for Zara.
Hi, how are you?
Here, as in the entire textile industry in Tunisia, 85% of employees are women. The workers are between 16 and 35 years old and work 48 hours a week, in accordance with the Tunisian law that Wassim respects religiously, as Inditex is quite strict on that point. Right now, all the employees are working on a very big order of shirts for Zara. Wassim and his foreman must quickly deliver 10,000 pieces.
Give me a shirt. This is a Zara shirt. It's a woman's shirt.
This order is important for Wassim and the future of the factory. There is no way to deliver a poorly finished product, so he checks everything.
And here the girl, she does the launching, labeling, each piece. Ironing's done here. This room makes 1,200 pieces per day and 150 pieces per hour.
To achieve such a performance, each worker is timed. It's called working to the minute.
For the shirt, they have 38 minutes. 38 minutes for the finished shirt. There, Jamila, who is responsible for the production. She does the calculation.
Because beyond 38 minutes, the company would lose money. The workers are therefore subject to regular checks. Jamila does not take her eyes off her watch. Most factories work like this. To calculate the cost per minute of work allows a maximum of profitability and reduces the prices. Here, workers who perform well will receive a €45 bonus at the end of the year. Thanks to these low production costs, Wassim manages to make a profit, but Zara is the true winner. This shirt will be sold €29, 3 times its production cost here. But Tunisia's reputation as a manufacturer comes from its dyeing factories. And that's a real problem. Masdour, 20 kilometers from Monastir, this is where Wassim outsources the dyeing of his Zara shirt. Maya Dayurari is the director of denim services. where 100 employees work. Mahmoud, come here. Here, clothes are dyed and jeans faded. Here's the machine where we take care of the Zara shirts. We find the Zara shirt, ready to be dyed in écru. Those are the dyes. They're direct dyes. For example, you have the pink here and the beige. For example, for the Zara shirt, the beige. And here's the final result. Cost of the operation, €2, charged by Demnim Services to Wasim. To obtain this color, many toxic products are used. Chemical agents, fixators, acetic acid, all very corrosive to the skin, mucous membranes, or the lungs. It is dangerous. It can easily attack the stomach. The majority of diseases, cancers, they come from this product. Yet here, those products are handled with bare hands and without any protection. Management does not seem too concerned. Why do you not wear gloves? He says it's not practical. Yes, but it's dangerous for your skin. He says not practical. He wants to work fast. He thinks that the glove is not practical to work. As everywhere, performance is vital for these workers. If they do not work fast enough, they risk to lose their jobs. So it is the priority. They could care less about their health. If those chemicals are used for dyeing are toxic, they are also catastrophic for the environment. Yet, most textile factories are located along the Bay of Monastir. Mouni Hassine, president of the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights, denounces this ecological disaster.
Look at this. This is the water that washed jeans. It's poured directly here. It arrives from the factories there. There's a jean processing factory in front of us, and there's another, and there are 3 there, who pour into this canal. Here's the contributions made by those factories that are dumping here directly. And it goes directly into the bay, haphazardly, just like that, you see? Look at the coast there. All those plants. Before they were not there. It was safe. And this bay was an asset.
Monastir's Bay was renamed the Triangle of Death. Formerly known for its pure waters and the abundance of fish, the sea has become a dumping ground where untreated waste and chemicals are discharged. The whole world wants to buy cheap clothes, and it has a cost. Unfortunately, the environmental protection is not the government's priority.
The authorities are aware of this, but they don't do anything about it because they connect the pollution problem with the employment problem. And they say, what can we do? If we press those factories there, there'll be more unemployment. And we're in a phase where we try to alleviate unemployment and all that.
Amancio Ortega employs 150,000 people around the globe. Couldn't he make sure that the factories of his suppliers respect the basic social and environmental rules? Would this question be on Ortega's agenda today? It looks like a normal day in Arteixo in Galicia. He heads to his desk at Inditex, like every morning. But in fact, not exactly. The self-made man just turned 80 today. To celebrate this occasion, thousands of employees organized a huge surprise for him. He has no idea of what awaits him.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ortega!
It's an intense moment for the little poor kid from Coruña who turned into the emperor of the fashion retailer world. The magnet is unable to hide his tears in front of so much attention.
Let's celebrate, come on.
These images are incredible. After decades of hiding from the media, the secret man is finally revealed, appearing in a touching way that we could have not imagined.
A celebration to last throughout the year, to bring your good times and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate your party with you. Come on in. Let's all celebrate and have a good time.
Hundreds of thousands of employees across the world celebrate the man who's behind the brand that revolutionized ready-to-wear.
Celebrate and have a good time. Come on. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's celebrate. Are you ready? It's all right.
At 13, Amancio Ortega promised himself that his mom would never be humiliated again because she was too poor. At 80 years old, he became the richest man in the world.
It's up to you. What's your pleasure? Everyone, find the world.